Reflections on the Good News of Jesus Christ for the 19th Sunday of Ordinary Time from the Gospel according to Luke. Jesus said to his disciples, "Do not be afraid any longer, little flock, for your Father is pleased to give you the kingdom. Sell your belongings and give alms. Provide money bags for yourselves that do not wear out, an inexhaustible treasure in heaven that no thief can reach nor moth destroy. For where your treasure is, there also will your heart be. Gird your loins and light your lamps, and be like servants who await their master's return from a wedding, ready to open immediately when he comes and knocks. Blessed are those servants whom the master finds vigilant on his arrival. I tell you truly, he will gird himself, have them recline at table, and proceed to wait on them. And should he come in the second or third watch, and find them prepared in this way, blessed are those servants. Be sure of this, if the master of the house had known the hour when the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You also must be prepared, for at an hour you do not expect, the Son of Man will come." Then Peter said, "Lord, is this parable meant for us or for everyone?" And the Lord replied, "Who then is the faithful and prudent steward whom the master will put in charge of his servants to distribute the food allowance at the proper time? Blessed is that servant whom his master on arrival finds doing so. Truly I say to you, the master will put the servant in charge of all his property. But if that servant says to himself, 'My master is delayed in coming,' and begins to beat the men servants and the maid servants, to eat and drink and get drunk, then that servant's master will come on an unexpected day at an unknown hour, and will punish the servant severely and assign him to a place with the unfaithful. That servant who knew his master's will but did not make preparations nor act in accord with his will shall be beaten severely. And the servant who was ignorant of his master's will, but acted in a way deserving of a severe beating, shall be beaten only lightly. Much will be required of the person entrusted with much, and still more will be demanded of the person entrusted with more." The good news of the Lord. Most of us have written, perhaps at some length, and perhaps without realizing it, about what is really important in our lives, and in so doing, have identified our spiritual priorities, although we may never have thought about it that way. But consider the following. Take a few minutes and read over the pages of your appointment book or your calendar. It may surprise you to see how you spend God's most precious gift to you, time. It's humbling and a little disconcerting how much time you devote to appointments and projects, all so terribly important at the moment, at the expense of time spent with family and friends, time spent doing the kind of charity work that stretches your soul, time spent with God. For how you spend your time, there also will your heart be. Most of us dread that April showdown with the IRS, but it can be a revelation. Reviewing the past year's income and bank statements, receipts, and donations is a pretty good indicator of where the money goes and what's most important to you. For where you spend your money, there also will your heart be. Take a look at the data you keep at your fingertips. The list of contacts in your computer, the family's schedules posted on the refrigerator, the websites you have bookmarked. For where your energy is spent and your attention is focused, there also will your heart be. The work we do and the lives we create in turn form the values we embrace and the moral and ethical core we live. How we spend our time, how we use our wealth, how we focus our energy are the true indicators of what we treasure. But too often, what we say we value is betrayed by the busyness of our days. The demands on our time and resources undermine the values we believe in the depth of our hearts. Consider this story. 3 times that year, he had had car trouble on the freeways in and around Portland, Oregon. A blowout on the freeway, a bunch of blowing fuses, and running out of gas. Each time he was stuck, he was disgusted with the way people refused to help, or how some tried to take advantage of his situation, like the tow trucks that would whiz past him without stopping, and the gas stations that would not lend him a gas can for safety reasons, but would sell him a cheap 1-gallon container with no cap for $15. But all 3 times, he was rescued by those least able and expected to help, Mexican migrant workers. This is one of those times. When his tire blew, he was driving a friend's car and discovered he had no jack. He put big signs in the window, "Need a jack," and offered money. 3 hours went by and no one stopped. Finally, as he was about to begin hitchhiking, a van pulled up and a guy bounded out of the vehicle. The man was Mexican, with his family of 4 in tow. He didn't speak English, so he called out to his young daughter, who did. As the driver and the Mexican worked to change the tire, the stranded motorist accidentally broke the man's jack. He felt like an idiot. No worries. The wife was gone in a flash and returned 15 minutes later with a new jack, and the tire was finally changed. The two were filthy and sweaty. His wife produced a large water jug for them to wash their hands. The grateful driver tried to put a $20 bill in the man's hand, but he would not take it. He then quietly slipped it to the man's wife. He asked the daughter where they lived, thinking he might send them a gift. The daughter explained that they lived in Mexico. They were in Oregon to pick cherries and peaches over the next few weeks and then go back home. As they said goodbye, the girl asked the stranded driver if he had had lunch yet. When he told her no, she ran up and then handed him a tamale. He thanked them again and walked back to his car and opened the tamale. He was starving by now. And inside the foil was his $20 bill. He ran back to try to catch the van, waving the 20. The father waved him off with a smile and, in fractured English, called out, "Today, you. Tomorrow, me." The stranded driver, Justin Horner, is a graphic designer in Portland. He recounted the story in an essay in the New York Times. Justin concludes his story with this. This family, undoubtedly poorer than just about everyone else on that stretch of highway, working on a seasonal basis where time is money, took a couple of hours out of their day to help a strange guy on the side of the road where tow trucks were just passing him by. Since then, I've changed a couple of tires, given a few rides to gas stations, and once drove 50 miles out of my way to get a girl to an airport. I won't accept money, but every time I'm able to help, I feel as if I'm putting something in the bank. We are all called to be faithful and prudent servants of the time, abilities, and resources that the Master has entrusted to us, and for which he will hold us accountable, not for the breadth and depth of those gifts, but for what we have done with those gifts for the sake of the kingdom of God. Humility is the grace to be grateful for what we have as gifts from God, and to realize our responsibility to put those gifts to the service of the whole household. Jesus promises that such faithful and prudent servants who keep the kingdom of God before them in all of their relationships, who lead and influence others by the example of their own humble service, who place the common good before their own interests, will find places of honor at the Master's table at the banquet of heaven. In today's gospel, Jesus also emphasizes the importance of waiting, something that very few of us would admit to enjoying. Indeed, 3 times Jesus tells us that those servants whom the Master finds vigilant and waiting are already blessed. That's how important this is. But is this waiting time to be spent just wastefully, twiddling our thumbs until the end of the world? Indeed, no. Waiting for Jesus to return means working for the coming of the kingdom of God. It means combating poverty, ending the hatreds that divide us, establishing peace among individuals, within families, in society, and among the nations of the world, curbing the pride that causes us to become confrontational with God and with each other, building social structures that respect the dignity of individual humans. Watching and waiting, in other words, are not about the end of time, when Jesus will come again. They are about watching and waiting for the ways Jesus is coming today. Perhaps in the guise of someone on the roadside with a flat tire. For as he told us, whatever you do, even to the least of my brothers and sisters, you do to me. Thanks very much for listening. Feel free to share this reflection with others if you wish. And you're always welcome to subscribe to this weekly gospel reflection, which you may do at our website, www.justanother.disciple.com. Once again, www.justanother.disciple.com. And thanks again.